Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Sean Fitzpatrick, CMO of Over It, and this is...
I'm Chris Boggs, Chief Organic Strategist.
And the name of the webinar is Trusted, Found, Chosen Healthcare Content in the Age of AI. This is all about what we call AI SEO for healthcare marketers, healthcare organizations, all y'all out there who do anything to raise all boats for healthcare. We've got a lot to cover. It's a bit of speed dating. We're having a conversation. We're going through a deck. And at the end, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions within the chat box that I think is somewhere over there on that side of us. So be ready and ask us questions, and operators are standing by, and we'll integrate that in towards the end. So shall we hop into it, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So starting out, we're going to talk about what is the landscape of search. And we've been talking about this since things have been changing so dramatically for the past couple of years, and they have changed a lot, but you've taught me that things are balancing out. So the first piece, and everybody knows this out there, that AI tools are reshaping search. So people are using these tools. You see the logos here from GPT, Perplexity, Claude, Copilot, 900 million weekly active users on ChatGPT. All the numbers there, Google Gemini, 750 million monthly active users. So people are using these tools, right? And it's important to recognize that because the tools, as we'll discuss, create different ways of searching and different ways of finding information. So the usage is out there. Next one is you, right, Chris?
Yes, sir. So we're going to talk about really that you're getting less traffic from Google. This is something that we discovered in 2025, and especially people when they had to come and give their organic search reports, and they were looking at 25 to 60% loss. So that really has happened. It's now April into May data. By the time you see this, your report should start looking a lot less drastic year over year when it comes to your traffic from Google. And the other thing is you're going to start to see some traffic coming in for the LLMs. However, the environment is here, you know. The AI overview presence, it reduces clicks by 58%. There's a few sources down here below. Zero-click searches are now at 65%. And if AI overviews are present, 80% of people are not even clicking on anything in the search result. This example here on the right, how can I find an OBGYN that accepts my insurance? It's a classic natural language search, and we're going to talk about that. But the landscape of the search result in Google has changed so much just in the last few years. And now that it's added the AI, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, but as you've taught me, no more excuses, right? There was a year there where it's like everybody's losing traffic, but now people should be seeing it balance out.
Yes,
and work hard on that.
No longer an excuse. If you haven't been doing SEO since last April or May, you're not going to see the results of it. But you should be seeing it now. If you've been doing SEO, your year-over-year traffic is now at a point where it should be rising again.
Okay, great. Next piece here. So SEO trends, search is now conversational and contextual. So this is about the number of voice-activated or voice assistance devices in use, 8.5 billion devices, with about 25% of those folks using it regularly. 65% of those voice search queries are phrased conversationally, averaging 29 words. So that's huge. And you've heard me when I'm working with GPT or Claude, where I'll say a whole paragraph before I get things going, just to make sure I get the perfect prompt in there. So we're going to talk about how that changes the way you need to optimize your content to meet those conversational queries.
Yeah. And as we know, part of the prompt with ChatGPT is telling it that it was wrong, and then it'll tell you, oh, you're absolutely right. So that adds some words probably to
the back and forth correcting it. Yes. Okay, so the next piece is about trust. So can you talk about this, Chris?
Sure. So there's this dead internet theory out there that if you want to go look up, it became pretty big, and it was really an exploration into the concept of robots talking to robots online. And there was these actual conversations sprouting on social and in other places online between AI entities, and people figured it out. But there's no internet, there's no humans, so they call it the dead internet theory. So you got a little a live internet theory somewhere in an alternate reality there. I swear the internet is just all humans now. Are there any bots left? So the point is, that, we are at that space. And so, and we're going to talk about it, is gaining trust. It's becoming quicker, or people are really starting to think, is that AI, before they even think. And so gaining trust and keeping it is that much harder, right?
Yeah.
Especially because of the environment we're in with so much AI produced content out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that the credibility and authenticity within all of these tool uses is still super important, more important.
You got to
than
keep
ever.
the human in it.
Yeah. All right. Rocking on, shall we? So, what the heck are we talking about here, anyways? What is SEO for AI? So, a lot of clients ask us, what's the difference? Because the workflows seem pretty similar, right? And so, we want to talk a little bit first of all, what are your favorite terms? There are these different phrases being bandied about here, some of them on the screen here: GEO, AEO, SGE, chat engine optimization. I like AI SEO because it kind of sounds like Old MacDonald had a farm, but I also think it's explanatory what it is. It blends traditional SEO with this new LLM-oriented SEO. But what's the difference in the workflows for AI compared to regular SEO?
Great question. And I think it's confusing people a little bit now. And in fact, as you'll see on the next slide, Google's come out in a proactive manner to tell people that it really is a lot of the same things. If you're doing SEO correctly, you're looking at technical at the base and making sure that your content's fast servable, et cetera. You're forming content that's very relevant and useful to your audience. And you're getting citations. People are talking about you. They're linking to you. They're mentioning your brand. Now, in the LLMs, it's different. But on this particular slide, GEO, generative engine optimization, is a big one. AI SEO is one that we use. Let's move to the next slide. And actually the one after that. But really the next slide, the thing to keep in mind is that AI search results, they come from large language models, which are a little bit different than the way that search engines work. They think they operate differently, right? Let's keep it at that without getting too geeky. But as they got egg on their face a couple of years ago, as they were coming out, and they were coming out with all these wrong answers, they've really started to really depend on Google and other search engines, especially like specialized search engines in specific industries, to double check themselves, right? So you're still doing SEO, because if it's double checking itself in Google and you're not there and it's pertinent to your brand or one of your specialties, then that's a problem, right? If you look, give me a short list of resources for helping my family member with advanced cancer. She's 82-year-old, living near Richmond, Virginia. Please provide a short summary for each, right? So that's a very common prompt that you're going to find in ChatGPT now related to healthcare. And you're going to see right in here, ChatGPT even has a map functionality now. Well, they'll generate this map and show you around Richmond sort of where these areas are. And then they give you direct links, right? So this is instant. This is ChatGPT 5, and it came out in a second, right? And now, granted, the problem, and it's saying, I'm sorry your family's going through this, blah, blah, but this is like cancer link, and then Bon Secours palliative medicine. So not necessarily an exact match to my prompt, right? I want a better kind of deeper list, and this is going straight to the palliative stuff. So the point is, there's still there's a lot of room for growth here, still. But you can see that it's already pretty strong, and it allows you to put in a whole paragraph in terms of what exactly you want. And then, like you said, you have to reprompt it, and you'll get to where you want to be. On the next slide, which I'll kick it back to you after that. This is where Google, as recently as April 23rd, this is a slide here from, I'll have to get the source and put it after in the Q&A. But the point is that Google has come out and said that good SEO is GEO. And this was again in early May said in another public source from Google, right? So it's obviously part of their PR blitz right now. Because it, in a sense, helps them, right? Because they want people to stay interested in Google. So they're like, hey, good SEO is good GEO. And they're trying to basically stop people from being driven in one direction, right? Probably history in SEO of smoke and mirrors and people taking advantage of people. So Google's proactively trying to stop people from falling for these, especially outlandish tactics that some people are pushing.
Which I appreciate, and I'm happy we're talking about it, because It's true, but as we're going to speak about in this webinar and are speaking about, there's still a question of where you put the weight of your attention, right? So there is an intensity of attention that shifts a little bit with the AI SEO in comparison to the traditional. So we'll dig deeper on that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. Okay, here they are. We want this to be usable. So we've got the top 5 things you can do now to optimize your site and your brand for AI search. And so, you know, what I like to say is that the AI SEO work, it definitely goes far beyond your website. It's really brand optimization. So we're going to talk about that here. So the top 5 things, I feel like David Letterman when I read this, but number 1, focus on your authority topics. Number 2, write clear, helpful content. 3, get conversational. So we talked about those, the long queries. Now we're going to talk about how to meet those long queries with your conversational tools. Number 4, rock the schema. You've been hearing this phrase schema. We're going to dig deeper on that and get a little bit geeky on it. And finally, be present where AI seeks answers, which is all over the place. So to go under the hood on this list, number 1, focus on your authority topics. So this is something, you know, every marketer is familiar with the funnel, right? And you and your team bring the work deeper down the funnel in this day and age. So everybody has been focusing on top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel through the years. And there's been a long trend of traditional SEO saying, go for the top of funnel traffic because that builds your credibility and pulls people into your funnel. And what you're saying now is focus more on your authority topics, which is more towards the middle of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel. Can you speak more about it?
Yes. Well, there's a couple things there. Also, the one part that's missing from the slide is the below the funnel, which is still important. And when you think about it for SEO, and we'll talk about here for LLM optimization, is that you want to grow your brand, right?
Yeah.
And that includes making it easy for your customers to find the content that they need, whether it's a login or in the case of healthcare, there's a lot of different portals that they may need to find. And then they get these text messages about going to a certain portal. So you need to proactively create content that's going to align with the messages that you're sending to your existing customers, right? That's going to deepen your middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content too, because you're helping to create a full experience within your website of what people should expect, right? Within your particular healthcare organization, whether it's dental or a hospital or whatever it may be. Even if you're selling medical devices, right? You want to be very clear about where to go for potential new customers as well as existing customers.
That is fascinating. And especially in the healthcare sector, the sites, as you're saying, they're so complex. You really, to be a courteous host, you need to just make sure you're ready there to direct everyone around wherever they're trying to get into the house. Right?
And you're making them do these texts now and all this other stuff. And for some people that are older than even I, you know, that's hard stuff, some of this stuff. And now some people are really good at it. My mom's great at it, you know, and she does a lot of the stuff like telemedicine with her doctor and everything, but not everyone's built for that.
Yeah. Yep. And so on this, as far as focusing on your authority topics, there's this question here about doing a gut check. Where do you really deserve to show up in someone's search? So top of funnel trends were like, just be there for some sort of top level Wikipedia question, say in the healthcare sector about a symptom, right? This recommendation is to say, no, get more specific about when would the customer or the searcher really want your entity to show up in their search. And if you're honest about that, and you're a healthcare system, it has something to do with your practitioners or your region or your specializations. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard. You're not going to really rank for something like a cancer care, right? Unless you're NIH or one of these big entities that has a bunch of government links pointed to it and a lot of authority, because it typically is going to then provide some sort of a directory or a hub of information, which is what the search engines and LLMs are looking for. And then they're looking at the co-citations across, right? So just ranking for cancer care is not really the right goal, right? Ranking for cancer care in Eldersburg, Maryland, it seems like it's not, it's the same thing, but it isn't, right? You need to focus on the combination of your geography as well as some of the specializations in your cancer care, for example.
All right, great. Thanks. On to the next one. So this is some example of some well-optimized content. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so we recently, Sean and I had a nice time in Foxborough, Massachusetts, presenting at a great health organization, Sway.Health. They do healthcare marketing, but Sean's been actually pretty involved with them, and he's done some videos on their YouTube channel. In fact, this specific AI overview result for how to structure medical content for AI discoverability was one of the topics that they covered on, believe it or not. And the cool thing about this is that this was an example, and I'm seeing this more and more, Sean, where AI and the difference even in Google's AI, but definitely when you start looking at Perplexity and Claude and all the others, they take multiple pieces of content and form a single citation and answer out of it, right? So in this particular case here, you can see some bolded text, but they've actually cited both for Sway the actual webinar that they did with, in this case, it wasn't Sean. This was a different webinar with Colin Hung and Alexis, I believe. But then they had another article that was published to their blog, AI-driven discovery shifts healthcare. So this is a great example where two pieces of content from the same entity were combined in a sense to help form an answer within AI. And this is how you do it, right? You need to, there's so many questions out there. So to be able to have a net to catch all the potential visibility or exposure is to do that. We're going to talk about, you know, how we need to create our content.
Yep. So it's there in the synthesis, and then they're featured as well. And then funny story, when we were working on this presentation, I'm saying to Chris, like, Chris, shouldn't we have my video with Sway? So we just added this other slide here that shows how my episode on the Sway podcast also shows up if you do just the right search. And there it is in the synthesized answer, but also comes up in the featured content. What would you call the column to the right?
Oh, so this is part, in this case, it's the AI overview citations. That's what you'll see on the right. This is not a traditional search result. You might see something else on the right, but when the AI overview is expanded, those are just the citations.
Okay, great. Yeah. So thanks again, Colin, for having me on the podcast. So the next one, then, the next tip is write clear, helpful, trustworthy content. And this is that piece where it's going back to the best practices for the Googles, right? So the next slide showing the EAT, E-E-A-T acronym: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This has been around for a while, and it's still true for LLM discovery, just like traditional SEO. And it's basically saying, be there to help people, right? So it's about showing your specific experience in a space, your specific expertise in a space, the authority with which you approach a topic, and the reason that you should be trusted. And there are strategies around that as far as having third-party trust marks in there, or bringing in your experts who have credentials to speak about different topics. A lot of folks in the healthcare sector are doing that, but sticking to those best practices in SEO is still hot. So the next slide, writing clear, helpful, trustworthy content, it just digs into that a little bit more, saying, be helpful, right? This is, I guess, the Emily Post etiquette slide for SEO best practices. Just make sure you're being considerate of your user. And Chris, you pulled in this case study here in the right to illustrate that.
Well, that's just an example, but really, you know, when we needed to be short and concise on this slide, obviously, because we could go 3 or 4 or 5 slides about writing clear and helpful, trustworthy content, but it is about your audience. And in healthcare, they're often going to want to consume either data, studies, charts, as well as you're going to find a lot of need for videos that are explainers about specific topics, short, concise ways for caregivers to help. So it's the kind of content that you're putting on there, right? Now, the other part of it is the technical background. And what we're showing here is actually the southcarolina.edu. It's pretty cool. They have this heading hierarchy and digital accessibility. And I've long said for SEO, you know, one of the most important visually disabled users of the internet is Google, right? So if you're actually accessible and you're making sure that all your content is accessible to people with screen readers, other vision difficulties, hearing difficulties, you need to think about all your audiences. And what that has done over the years is it's overlapped with being SEO valuable too, right? Because you're taking more care to make sure that everything on your page is actually accessible to everyone. And in doing that, you're adding more basically code to reinforce the importance of certain pieces, right? So that's kind of what the scrolling thing on the right is showing there.
We should do another webinar about ADA because it's really, there have been some big developments in ADA this year. So we'll get to that. Come back for that webinar when it happens, everybody. Okay. Third piece, get conversational. And so we've been speaking about this, but there's some deeper details to say. So we talked about my 10-minute prompts that I give in my long conversations where I scold my AI tools. But you've got some visual aids here to just kind of speak about these different conversational strategies. What you got?
Yeah, well, this is another one. This came up in the research that we did for Sway, or that I did. And there was a company called MB2 Dental that's doing a pretty good job of talking about dental marketing, right? And that's resulted in some AI overview results. What are good tips for marketing a dentist's office? It's very overt if you look at their page that they're creating natural language in their headlines and their FAQs. It's no secret now, or it shouldn't be for your marketing team, that you have to use FAQs at the category level. We're way past the age of having a single page to handle all your FAQs, because FAQs are category and topic dependent, right? And they allow you to introduce natural language questions that people are typing into LLMs. So it's really a great way. And then, as we're going to talk about, you can reinforce them even further with schemas.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next piece, rock the schema. So this is some technical stuff, but not too technical. So I'm going to try to say what this is. So schema is within the code, and it's basically signals within the code that give extra information about how page content is structured, what's there, and how it's ordered. How did I do?
I think you get a technical smiley face.
Okay.
Well done.
So go deeper. Tell more about rocking the schema.
So you see here on the rock the schema, the first slide, I'm not sure if you're still showing it, but schema helps AI understand your content, as Sean introduced. On the right side there, that's an example of a plugin that many people use that's very effective at introducing what you would call a base schema into your existence, right? Schema is background coding for reinforcing the information that's on the page. There is so much opportunity when schema. What we found, if you look at even NIH.gov, schemas can look strong but need more. Somebody's gone and done a big project to add schemas, but really all they did was add what is called a web page schema, which is probably, if you're going to have anything that's almost useless within schema, it's the web page schema, because a machine can easily identify a web page by the HTTPS, right? So the point is that this is not it's not a completely useless schema, but that's the only schema they have on their medical research initiatives at NIH.gov.
But I want to say to that web team that we appreciate you. And this was good foundational work.
Yeah, but the point is, like, somebody check the box. Hey, we got schema on the site now, right? But this is a great example where it's not just that, right?
It's not just gesturing towards it. You really need to be detailed about it. Yeah.
Yes. And you're going to see in the next couple slides, schema at type. So the type of schemas, there's a list of them right here that are pretty basic that you get out of a plugin like Yoast or All-in-One SEO. There's a number of them out there that, again, if you're not going to do anything, you can at least have those, and they're helping a little bit, right? Because they're going to provide these basic types. There's a thing called the graph, which is actually housing then multiple types of schemas. So when you get into using the graph, such as Yoast does or whatever, you may seem like you have more types in there, but there's so many more. So let's go to the next slide. This is just a fraction of the ones that are most pertinent to healthcare, right? There's a medical webpage that adds healthcare specific context to the condition, symptom, and treatment pages, right? Physician, more information that helps your authority, which we're going to talk about, right? If you can beef up a page about a physician by also referencing, hey, this is the same physician that's referenced at Brown's Medical School and at his whatever he did, graduate, et cetera, right? Medical organization is for hospitals, et cetera, clinics. Condition, if you have a disease or symptom or risk factors page, everything. And then you get a couple others there that really start to get to be useful across other categories and industries as well, but are very important as schemas. The FAQ page, the how-to, I was mentioning, how to help care for your mother, right?
So Chris, so with these, so our audience understands, like, so there's Yoast. A lot of folks have just done a WordPress site here and there and used Yoast for metadata, right? And you can start to approach the schema. Is it physically possible to get this detailed within Yoast, or do you need to go beyond?
Yeah, and the answer is, as of right now, no. But there is typically a slide requirement in a dev sense for you to be able to then house the additional schema depending on what theme you're using in WordPress. But it's really shouldn't be a huge issue, but you will want to disable the Yoast and any other schema apps that you might have running plugin wise.
Okay. And DIY or with greater help. Gotcha. Okay, great. Shall we rock on? Anything more on the schema? Okay, cool. Great. Okay, last category, be present where AI seeks answers. And this breaks into two categories. So this part I love because this is all about content. And I just want to say, we've talked about this. Everybody's freaked out about AI and the job market and taking jobs and what are people going to do and marketers. And there's certainly a reality to that, right? And right now, the demands of AI SEO are that brands generate plenty of content across various channels, right? So right now, there's plenty of work to do, even while the world is revolutionized by this technology. Yeah, so I like that silver lining message when we get into this stuff. So it breaks into two pieces. There's the be present where AI seeks answers. And so this is about your owned platform. So Chris, can you speak a little bit about this? Just encourage folks to do more with their content across their owned channels.
Leveraging other platforms such as YouTube or social platforms, Wikipedia. There's a lot of places that you can be present, right? In a sense. Specifically to healthcare, there are certain entities that do accept content. WebMD accepts expert contributors. Healthline frequently cites healthcare brands. Very Well Health uses interviews. GoodRx, Medical News Today. So you should be actively seeking out presence on those entities in healthcare.
Absolutely. Yep. And so just kind of getting out there, even if it's with one particular topic, you want to repurpose that topic across these many channels. Yeah. Okay.
Build your authority.
Yeah. Great. And so then going on to that, there's the piece about, it goes a little bit deeper about things like LinkedIn and Reddit and just getting the mention, maybe not the citation.
Yeah, so that's the great thing about LLMs is you don't necessarily need to always get the link anymore because they're operating at such a greater scale that, and you could argue that Google does this too now that their technology is even further evolved, but the co-citation, meaning that the brand is mentioned in a topic of a particular relevance, whether it be dental marketing or whatever we're talking about, the more that it gets out there, you don't necessarily need the link. It's about branding, right?
Yeah.
And being out there. And it does boil down to make it less of a mysterious thing, building authority, presence beyond your own channel. It's branding, PR.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
What it is.
Yeah, it still works. So the PR people, it's interesting because for a long time, people were hating on PR, saying like, well, nobody reads the media anymore. Nobody goes there. They're just getting little tidbits on social. But now the LLMs are consuming media. And so it reinforces that strategy once again. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
crazy, even in Google and
Yeah.
it's very influential. And that's, human source content.
Yep. Absolutely. We're getting the signal here that we've got to be wrapping it up pretty soon. So multi-location practices must align GBPs, location pages, and schemas. So I know you're passionate about the location stuff. Talk about it a little bit.
So any local healthcare organization knows, you might be managing multiple Google business profile dashboards for your different offices. These should align. An example that's shown on the screen, the Haven Detox. New England, the Haven Detox, New Jersey, and then some SEO got involved in Florida, right? The Haven Detox, Florida, alcohol and drug rehab. So the point is that the Haven, to me, and any medical brand should have literally the same name, in terms of a pattern, right? So the first two are a good pattern across all your entities. Put it your brand name and then your location, brand name, specialty, whatever it may be, right? And then you want to make sure that that address and phone number, NAP, name, address, phone, is aligned not only with your GBP, but I see this so often with healthcare sites where they have a random different address on the website or a different phone number on the website and then they're not properly linking from their Google business profile to the page that they've established for the location. So we see this all the time. And it's a process that's very important because it further reinforces Google's understanding of a brand. And if they're not 100% sure that this brand is that at that location, that's when the murkiness starts to step in, right? And so it's a simple matter of dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. That's actionable guidance from over it. Yeah. All right, we're on to the last piece there. We made it through. We're going to have some questions, but just to say how to proceed from here. Basically, you can get the tools, and we've got a cheat sheet. And I think we should go right to the QR code slide. We landed on the QR code here, so go ahead and use that, and you can download this deck and a bunch of good information like a cheat sheet, and you can even set up to get an AI SEO flash audit, we call it, with Chris and his team, complimentary, and just reach out and talk. So use the QR code here. We'd love to connect with you. We'd also love to answer all of your questions that you've got here. And we've got some good questions coming in. And the hilarious thing is this, that we only reserve this space for about a half an hour today. So we've got to move over into the actual proper podcasting room in order to answer your questions. So we're going to be in a different location. So enter your questions there and we'll get right to it.
All right, everyone. I'm glad you were able to attend or are watching this webinar after the fact. Sean is not going to be joining me for the Q&A as he had another important event that he had to attend to. So I'm going to jump right into some answering some questions. We did get a couple that came in. Please, if you have any questions and you're still online through any of our social channels that are live streaming this, please go ahead and paste them on into the chat and they'll get over to me. But starting with one of the first questions, what are some of the considerations for the legal and compliance layer that's involved with content development and publishing, within the healthcare space, as well as the PR and branding that can be done within those same sort of rules and restrictions? So great questions. Obviously, we're all subject to HIPAA. We're subject to a lot of different types of regulations and rules about the type of content that we can publish depending on the type of healthcare entity that we are. I spent many years working with a lot of pharma sites, and the rules there are completely different than if you're working with, let's say, a group of dental offices in a particular region. The idea is that you want to create content that is based on pre-approved concepts from the legal team. Ideally, you want to also incorporate your own specialists and experts and allow them to state what they can in terms of what they've done. We talked about the importance of growing that experience and expertise as part of the layer of growth in the content authority. That is really based on the people that are mentioned within the content as the ones that are having the experiences, right? So if it's a dentist that's done a particular type of root canal very often, or if it's a particular type of surgeon that specializes in Achilles, for example, it's important to really think about the content that's been developed to support not only that practice within the entity that doctor works, but also to support the doctor, him or herself, right? So all this should end up in a fairly decent bucket of legal and compliance approved related content, which hopefully also includes some video. The PR and the branding side of that question, really, again, it's about what you can send out press releases about and get branding out about. The simpler side of the story typically is your corporate social responsibility and your philanthropy that you're doing as an organization. Often there's not going to be any issues with having your brand listed on a website or a web page that's promoting a certain event in the area or related to children's health or sports or anything, right? So the idea is you want to do PR in a classic sense and get your brand out there mentioned. It doesn't always have to have the links, which we're going to talk about as part of the next question. So the next question is, how important is SEO link building, right, for LLMs? It's a common question. Obviously, with LLMs, you have a greater understanding of the co-citation that's going out there. They are dealing at a more macro scale, you can argue. So they definitely don't need to have the link as per se all the time, right? To have a mention in an LLM response is step one. The citation is step two, right? So for LLMs, is link building important? Well, it's really going back to the idea that AI SEO is kind of built on foundational SEO strength. That includes appearing within Google consistently for topics that are relevant to what you're trying to rank for. And often the correlation and in some cases causality for getting those rankings is as a result of the link building, whether you want to call it that or PR and branding and citation reinforcement that you've been doing. So if you're in a very competitive space, the answer is yes, you probably need to do, if you want to think about it in that sort of sense, SEO link building. But you need to shift to a manner in which SEO link building is just a byproduct of the PR that you're doing. So just checking to see, I've got one more question here, seeing if there's any other newer questions. Nope. So we got, what is the most important schema to work on first? So it's also a good question. Schemas, they can be basic within the plugins, and a lot of people just set the plugin and then forget it. If you go into the plugin settings and direct the plugin to further fortify your schemas, you can. It's a matter of actually going in there and going through each individual field that's available for you to add to the schema plugin or the schema section of the plugin. If it's something like Yoast that handles multiple different things related to SEO, you want to get in there and make sure that you've covered all the basic schemas, because to get to the higher end schemas that are related to medical entities, that's next, right? First, you have to have the base schemas identifying yourself as to what you are and where you are and what your open hours are and so on and so forth. The other thing then is, as you start to look at schemas as an opportunity to further grow the micro-formatting on your site, look at the type of site and then think about reinforcing certain entities, right? Like, for example, well-known specialists or surgeons that you may have in a particular area, like I mentioned before, those can be further reinforced within the schemas, and that reinforces the expertise of the content. So we've covered a lot of stuff today. Don't forget, you can get a free checkup if you'd like for how your AI SEO is doing and some free ideas. If you just follow up with us, we gave you the QR code there earlier. And looking forward to hearing from some of you and wishing you a great day.